It is said that for every door that closes in our lives, another one opens. And while many have found great relief in this wisdom, I have found that the doors that open and close in our lives are not nearly as important as the person that we are when we open them. There are two doors that open in my life, quite literally, that illustrate this point. The first was on the night that I lost my daughter. She was only 10 months old at the time. I did not lose my daughter due to some great misfortune. I lost my daughter because I was not a worthy parent. My addiction to alcohol and other drugs, as well as my harmful behaviors, forced her mother to take her away from me. I remember well the night that I lost my daughter. Her grandmother was coming to town to take them away. And I, true to form, instead of being there to deal with it, I went off with my friends to drown my sorrows and my shame in alcohol. I came home very late that night. I staggered up to the door, drunk. My shirt was ripped open from a fight I'd been in. In my hands, the remains of a six-pack dangling here. I was prepared to open a door to a home that was now as empty as my heart. But when I opened that door, instead, I saw my little girl in the arms of her grandmother. And as they looked up at me, there was nowhere to hide my shame. I could see clearly the reason they needed to leave right here. Now, my whole life, as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a good person. In fact, I don't think I've ever met anyone that deep down in their heart did not also want to be a good person. So, how does this happen? If we have free will, if we want to be good people, how can we do so many things that we regret? How can we let down the ones we love so much? Well, it turns out that free will is not a given. Free will is a skill that we need to develop. This has been one of the most valuable lessons in my life, and unfortunately, it's a lesson that's rarely taught. It's rarely taught because it's assumed that we have free will, that we can simply just make choices and be the person we want to be. But is that true? How much free will do you really have? Have you ever tried to change a well-ingrained habit? We've all been inspired in our lives and wanted to make great changes. We were determined to do it, right? Maybe we read an inspirational book, attended a workshop, possibly a TED Talk. It all made so much sense, and we were ready to implement these new changes into our lives. Well, how'd that turn out? If you're like most of us, before long, you found yourself back in your old routine like a marble in this well-worn groove. Everyone here, all of us can make a list of 5 things that you can do to improve your life. It's not hard, and it wouldn't even take long. The question is, can you do what's on the list? And if not, why not? What is it that prevents us from doing things that we absolutely know would improve our lives? We can have the best of intentions only to find ourselves seemingly powerless over habits that have now imprisoned us. And unfortunately, this all too often leads to a misperception that we cannot change. In fact, there are those that say free will is nothing but an illusion. On the other side of the spectrum, there are those that say free will is the reason we suffer, that we're free to make poor choices. It's my firm conviction that we suffer much more because of a lack of free will, an inability to make good choices. So let me explain what I mean when I say free will. Free will being that I can clearly make decisions that support the person that I want to be, the values that I want to embody, the life that I want to live. Free will means I can make these choices and I can act upon them. So let's explore this for a moment. If we're going to make clear, healthy choices in our lives, to have free will, first we need to be present to be there, right? I mean, how are you going to make a healthy choice if you're not there? So how often are you consciously present in your own life? Do any of these statements sound familiar? My car keys, have you seen them? That piece of paper, I had it a minute ago. One of my personal favorites. What were we talking about? Have you ever walked through a door into a room and did not know what you were there to get? Yeah, I think we can relate to this, right? It turns out that we think, hey, I forgot where my car keys are. But did you? Or were you even there when you set them down? When we set our car keys down, our mind was somewhere else. When I was in a conversation with somebody else, my mind had wandered off. I wasn't even there in a conversation. There's a lot of research now in the studies of mindfulness and mindlessness. And it turns out that here in the United States, on average, people are not aware of what they're doing about half the time. About half the time. Okay, all right, 47%. I don't want to be exaggerating, okay? 47% of the time, not aware of what we're doing when we're awake. So if we're not aware of what we're doing 47% of the time that we're awake, how are we making healthy choices during that time? Most of the time, the choices that we're making are being made unconsciously and out of habit. We're not present to make many of them, and when we are present, we're not really thinking them through all the time. So, we can change this. We can become more present in our lives. We can develop more free will. And while I don't have time for a whole mindfulness course here, I would like to offer you 3 things that can really empower you to develop the skill of free will in your own life. Number 1, attention. This is the key that unlocks the door. We can train our mind to be more attentive to what we're doing. We do not need to be a prisoner of every single worry, thought, and fear that arises in our mind. People have been doing this for thousands of years with meditation. With a consistent daily meditation practice, something that just really helps you concentrate, something like just paying attention to the breath. If you were to do that consistently with a solid meditation practice, you could actually train your mind to attend to what you choose to instead of having it drag you away with worry, fear, and concern. This is the key that unlocks the door, training the mind to be a participant in your own life. Clarify your values. The biggest obstacle preventing us from being the person we want to be, living the life that we want to have, is not our circumstances. It's that we haven't even asked ourselves the question. We don't even know what that looks like. When was the last time that you asked yourself what your deepest values were? What a meaningful life looks like to you? Typically, we wake up in the morning and before long, our mind's on the to-do list. We're caught up in our day. We're already on autopilot. Imagine what it would be like if every day before you got caught up in the to-do list. Every day, you took a little time to reflect on the fact that you're about to embark upon a day that will never come again in your life. This day will never come again. And then ask yourself, how would you like to participate in a day that will never come again? What are your values? What are the values you want to guide the life that you're about to embark upon today? How would your life be different if you took a little time each day to ask yourself how you would like to participate in this day? 3, practice. Free will is a skill, and like any other skill, it requires practice. And if we don't use it, we will lose it. To quote Henry David Thoreau, a single footprint does not lead a path upon the earth. Likewise, a single thought does not leave a path upon your mind. To make a deep physical path, we must walk again and again. To make a deep mental path, we must think again and again the thoughts that we would like to dominate our lives. And to put it another way, using neuroscience, neurons that fire together wire together. We create neural pathways in our brain by the things that we do consistently and the thoughts that we entertain consistently. We create these neural pathways. This usually happens unconsciously. We can do it consciously. We can actually rewire ourselves. We can create new neural pathways in our own brains that support the person that we want to be, the habits that will be productive, that are in alignment with our values. But it takes practice, and it takes conscious practice. And if we don't do it consciously, what happens? It happens unconsciously. You can embrace the habits and create new ones that support the values that you want to embody your life if you bring them to mind. Now, I mentioned 2 doors in my life. On to the second one. Fortunately, I did have a moment of clarity in my life. A moment of clarity born of pain and emotional suffering. That's how we get lots of our moments of clarity, right? And I knew that if I wanted to live, I needed to live differently. So on August 21st, 1984, I did not pick up any alcohol, I did not pick up any drugs, and I began a road of recovery. That was 32 years ago. Thank you. Now, in the rooms of recovery, they taught me these valuable lessons. They taught me another one I'd like to share because I think it may resonate with most of us. My life was one in which I constantly asked the question, what can I do to make me feel good? What can I do to be okay? Well, they said, here's another question to start asking. How can I help? How can I be helpful? And by asking this question, my life started to change, and I would ultimately discover my value as a human being. It turns out that we discover our worthiness and value by doing worthy and valuable things. Not just things that make you feel good. Your genuine happiness does not come from doing things that make you feel good. It comes from doing things that you feel good about. From doing things you feel good about. So, these people taught me that I could be okay, and they taught me to be more helpful. And I started to discover some value. And as I did, and as I got better, I did turn my thoughts to my daughter again, and I'd missed her. And so I would lament about this. Okay, I would whine incessantly on occasion. And as I was whining one day to a wise elder, he looked at me and he said, you know, no one knows if your daughter will ever be put back in your life. That's not the way it works. But if she's ever put back in your life, you can be someone worth finding. This struck me very deeply. And so I thought about what a father worth finding would be like, and I did my best each day to ask these questions about being helpful, and trust me, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Felt like a Neanderthal learning how to be human. And in the process, someone like me, an insecure, shame-based young man, someone who had lived in a homeless camp underneath a bridge, was able to find recovery and transform his life, develop some free will. In the process, I wound up having careers as a counselor. I was a corporate manager, got to play golf. Not well, but I got to play golf. I had the incredible opportunity to become a school teacher right here in Long Beach at Jordan High School. I even became a Buddhist monk. Didn't see that coming. And eventually, though it wasn't guaranteed, the call came one day. A call that would lead me back to my daughter. She was 550 miles away, and I got in a car, and I was in it, and I was on it, and I was going there. And I had a little cassette recorder to talk to because I had fears, worries, concerns, and I was just talking like the whole way, 550 miles. Thank God it was just a tape recorder. And I pulled up in that driveway. I'll never forget this day. I was trembling. I was scared. I didn't know, is she going to want to hug me or not hug me? Well, I opened that door, and on the other end of the door, there was my daughter, 8.5 years old now, in her best dress, ready to meet her father. Finally, a father worth finding. She just hugged me, and she wouldn't let go, and it was the best day of my life by far. I've got to raise her since then. And it turns out she had a younger sister who became my other daughter. So I got 2 for the price of 1. I even have 2 granddaughters now. They're here today. It's an incredible gift. So I invite you to develop this skill of free will. Do not give up the opportunity to be the person that you want to be as you open the doors of your life. Take a little time each day. You are worth it to ask yourself who you want to be today. Clarify those values. And come on, meditate a little bit. It doesn't hurt. The only thing that separates the person you are from the person you want to be are the actions you take. Thank you so much.